Astrology. This is the Love Synastry Reading, mini reading for Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco. Now, this is a very compatible, I would say this is a very compatible match here. A lot of compatible sign aspects and planetary aspects. Now, before I start, I would just say this. I know nothing about Benny Blanco. I know very little about Selena Gomez. So let's get into it just like that, almost completely blind. And you watching this probably know more about them than I do, so you can tell how accurate this mini reading is. So let's start with the sun. We have Selena Gomez here on the left. She has the sun in a water sign, Cancer. And Benny Blanco has his sun in Pisces, in a water sign. So that's what I mean by sign, very compatible. And by planetary aspect, we see her sun is at 29 degrees, really emphasizing the sun there at 29 degrees, and it's pretty much 29 degrees, 56 minutes, pretty much in Leo. So we can also say that the sun is very prominent in her chart. And we look at his chart, and the sun is in Pisces, but it's conjunct the north node, and it's moving towards that north node. So the sun is very prominent in his chart as well. So we have two very prominent suns in water signs, very similar in their charts there. Their sun emphasis. Now we go to his moon. His moon is in water, but it's in Scorpio, ruled by Mars, and her moon is in fire, but it's ruled by Mars as well. So we have two moons that are ruled by Mars, and his moon is conjunct Pluto there, and her moon is almost in exact aspect to Pluto, making an inconjunct. Pluto's at 20 degrees, her moon is at 25 degrees. So we have two moons that are ruled by Mars that are contacting Pluto. Let's take a look at her. Let's take a look at her Saturn. Her Saturn is in Aquarius, and his Saturn is in Capricorn. So we have two Saturns in signs that are ruled by Saturn. Two Saturns that are in the sign that it rules, the planet rules. And the other thing that's interesting here is that his Saturn is conjunct Uranus. And of course, as we know, Saturn in Aquarius, Aquarius also is ruled by Uranus. So we have her Saturn in Aquarius, a sign that it also is ruled by Uranus. So we have this Saturn in a sign that it likes to be in, and it's also contacting Uranus. And in her chart, in addition, her Saturn is in almost the exact degree of Uranus. Now we can look at her Mars. Her Mars is in Taurus, and his Mars is in Capricorn. So we have both of their Mars in Earth signs, and his Mars is conjunct Neptune. And her Mars is making a trine, almost exact trine, 10 degrees off. It's in Earth, both in Earth signs with Neptune. So they both have a Mars that is contacting Neptune in Earth. So I hope you're following me. I know I'm throwing a lot out there, but it's very obvious the very similarities here. It's very easy for me to just kind of run through them. Let's take a look at the Venus. Her Venus is in fire, in Leo, and his Venus is in Earth, in Taurus. Now, I'm sorry, I want to look at her Venus in relation to his Mars. Sorry. So her Venus is at 10 degrees in Leo. His Mars is at 10 degrees in Capricorn. So two signs that are not necessarily compatible. We have an inconjunct there, but they're in the same degree. The Mars, notice his Mars is at 10 degrees and her Mars is at 10 degrees. So we have the Mars and Venus in the same exact degree. Take a look at his Venus and her Mars. His Venus is at 2 degrees Taurus, and her Mars is at 27 degrees Taurus. So we have the Mars and Venus in the same sign, the same Earth sign. See if I left anything out. The Mercury. Let's take a look at the Mercury. His Mercury is in Aquarius. Her Mercury is in Aquarius, but it's in Leo, the opposition, and it's making a almost exact opposition to his Mercury, and it's conjunct. And it's making a inconjunct to Uranus, the planet that rules Aquarius. So he has his Mercury in a sign that's ruled by Aquarius, and she has almost an exact aspect between Uranus and Mercury. And we could say that Mercury, with Mercury being in a sign that it rules, without looking at anything else in his chart, his Mercury is emphasized, and you can see her Mercury is emphasized by that inconjunct to Uranus. And we can look at the other aspects. It's also retrograde. It's in aspect to Venus. It's in aspect to Jupiter, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and almost exactly to Saturn, and a loose aspect to Moon and Mars. So pretty much aspecting everything. So this is a couple that has an emphasis on the mind, has an emphasis on communication. If I really want to get into what all this means, well, I think it would make for, especially with that emphasis on communication, it would make for a couple who very much sees themselves in the other person, based on characteristics, based on just based on surface level characteristics. Like with the sun being emphasized, they can really see the importance of that in the other person, and they can have more understanding. They can, with the moon, with the moon aspecting Pluto, they can understand the phases, the dark side of the other person, and what they're going through at certain phases of life, etc. So this is a couple that, because of all these similarities and then seeing themselves in the other person, they can really have a lot of understanding and empathy for each other. So I'll leave it there for now. That is just a little mini reading, synastry reading between Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco.